Okay, so you know that feeling, right? You've tried growing some beautiful annual flower from seed,
Mm-hmm.
and you get it home from the nursery. It looks amazing, towering, lush.
Yeah.
But then your homegrown ones,
Yeah.
they look absolutely nothing like it. It's like this quiet betrayal of home gardening.
It really is. You bring that perfect plant home, save the seeds, follow all the steps.
Exactly. But yours end up short, maybe a bit, straggly. And the worst part, they start flowering immediately.
Before they even get tall.
Yes. So frustrating.
It's pretty much the universal mystery for gardeners, isn't it? And today, we're actually digging into this specific puzzle for one of our listeners. They were completely baffled by the wishbone flower, Torenia fournieri.
Ah, the wishbone flower. Pretty common.
Very common. They saw these incredible, tall, dense plants at the nursery, but their own plants, grown from the same seeds, well, they just stayed stubbornly short and, like you said, went straight to bloom way too early.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We need to get into the commercial gardening notes, figure out what's going on behind the scenes.
Unlock the secrets.
Yeah, unlock the precise sort of manipulations that let nurseries turn this, standard annual into this massive decorative thing.
Yeah.
We're hunting for the shortcuts they use for size and delaying flowers.
And it's a really good plant to focus on for this because Torenia is huge in the commercial world. The sources all confirm it's cheap to grow, super vigorous,
Right.
and a single plant. It can produce hundreds, maybe even thousands of viable seeds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So nurseries use them everywhere, big visual anchors and displays, which means they're not just growing a decent plant for a pot sale.
Engineering it.
Exactly. Engineering it for maximum, vibrant, almost impossible size to pull customers in.
They're basically showing off the plant's absolute peak potential. Our listener was understandably trying to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned trying the classic trick, right? Pinching the tips for bushiness.
Yeah, they did.
But even that didn't fix the main problem, the height, or stop the early flowering. It didn't, push the plant back into just growing bigger.
And that early blooming, that's the biggest clue right there.
Right.
It tells us the plant, under normal home conditions, basically decided, right, I'm big enough to survive, time to make seeds, reproduce.
Survival mode kicks in.
But the commercial grower, they're effectively shouting at the plant, nope, not yet. Keep building the skyscraper.
Oh, okay.
And to do that, they have basically three main levers they pull. We need to look at how these commercial factors, light, chemistry, and some specialized regulators are totally different from what happens in a typical home garden.
Okay, 3 levers. Let's unpack them. Where should we start? Maybe the first one you mentioned, the one that uses physics and plant desperation.
Yeah, let's start there. The stretch effect. It's called etiolation.
Etiolation,
Yeah.
right. It seems weird, though, because it actually involves reducing light, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And yes, it feels counterintuitive, but it's a classic commercial trick to get height fast. The source material details how growers deliberately cause this etiolation.
Oh.
Well, either by growing the plants in lower light conditions or maybe more commonly just packing them super densely together.
So they shade each other out.
Exactly, they shade each other. But wait, my instinct, if I'm growing an annual, is always give it full sun, make it strong, robust. Why would starving it for light make it taller? Because bright, direct light is a signal to the plant. It says, hey, you're safe here. You've got everything you need. Build strong, short stems, lignin-rich stems.
Okay.
But lower light or, that intense competition from neighboring plants, that triggers a really deep survival instinct. The plant knows it needs sun for photosynthesis, so it basically panics and rushes its stem growth upwards vertically. It's desperately trying to get its leaves above the competition, out of the shade. It's just a race to the top.
So it's sacrificing, sturdiness for pure vertical speed.
Yeah.
I guess if you've ever had a seedling indoors get all leggy and thin.
That's exactly it.
That's the process.
Yeah.
But nurseries are harnessing it on purpose.
Deliberately.
Okay, practical question then.
Yeah.
For our listener trying to get this height boost at home. If I just stick my pot in a dim corner, maybe where it only gets filtered light, am I going to get nice, tall etiolation or just a weak, floppy plant?
And that's the key difference, right? Commercial growing versus hobby growing. It's all carefully balanced in a nursery setting. They use etiolation for that initial height kick, definitely. But they compensate for the thinner stems that result by feeding heavily, which brings us perfectly to the second lever.
The fuel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fueling the green engine. And this is probably the most critical one for our listeners' issue. Etiolation gives you height, maybe, but massive fertilizer inputs with a very specific nutrient ratio. That gives you the density and the lush green growth.
Right, and this is the one that really tackles that early flowering problem head on.
Yeah.
You said nurseries use frequent fertilizer doses with a high nitrogen ratio.
That's the key, high nitrogen.
So what does that mean practically? Like when you look at the NPK numbers on a fertilizer bag, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, what kind of ratio are they actually using?
They're pushing the N hard. For annuals like Torenia, they're often using ratios where nitrogen is like 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times higher than the P and K.
What?
Think something like a 3:1:1 or maybe even a 4:1:1 ratio. This isn't balanced plant food.
No, it sounds like rocket fuel for leaves. It's basically a command. Grow foliage. Now, because I usually go for something balanced, like a 10-10-10. Or sometimes a bloom booster, which is higher in the middle number, phosphorus, to get more flowers.
Right, standard practice.
But this is the complete opposite. We're aggressively pushing the nitrogen.
Exactly, because nitrogen is the chemical signal that screams grow leaves and stems, what biologists call vegetative growth. Really high levels of nitrogen basically tell the plant, look, the environment is incredibly rich in resources. Forget about flowers for now, just build structure, build it fast. It's like an endless green light for construction.
So, okay, if our listeners' plants started flowering early, it's because its nitrogen supply probably leveled off under their normal care routine. It got enough nutrients to mature naturally, hit that point where its priorities just shifted from get tall to make seeds.
Precisely. And the nursery's aggressive nitrogen feeding, it chemically forces the plant to stay in that get tall phase longer. It delays the transition.
It's artificially extending that juvenile growth stage.
Yes. And we really need to emphasize frequency here too. This isn't like sprinkle some granules once a month.
Right.
The sources suggest commercial growers, depending on their setup, are often using liquid feed. Maybe daily, maybe weekly. Constant feed.
Wow, daily or weekly?
Yeah, ensuring the plant never experiences a nutrient dip that might trigger that flowering instinct. They are constantly bathing the roots in high nitrogen food. That is a huge difference from what most home gardeners do.
Okay, but here's a potential issue. I know pushing nitrogen super hard, especially without balanced minerals, can sometimes lead to like weaker cell walls.
Right?
That's a really excellent point.
Are these commercial growers just trading a short plant for a tall one that's, I don't know, prone to aphids or snaps in the wind?
It definitely highlights the calculated risk they take. Yes, a plant rushed into growth with tons of nitrogen will naturally have larger, thinner cell walls. It might be more succulent, maybe more attractive to certain pests like aphids.
Okay.
However, commercial operations can manage this risk. They have controlled environments, they can use preventative treatments immediately if needed, and crucially, market timing.
Market timing.
They only need that plant to look absolutely perfect for the couple of weeks it's sitting on the display bench. They don't need it to survive a hailstorm in your garden 3 months down the line. That really reframes it, doesn't it? Yep. The goal isn't long-term, robust health in a garden setting.
Not primarily, no. It's spectacular, but temporary visual impact for sales. Okay. So for our listener, the big takeaway here seems to be get aggressive and frequent with liquid feeding. Use a fertilizer heavily weighted towards nitrogen. Maybe mix it slightly more diluted than the package says, but use it often. That's probably the single most impactful non-chemical step they can take right now to chase that heightened density.
Got it. Manage the nitrogen.
It's the biggest factor they can control at home. Now, to add another layer, a really fascinating one, we have to talk about the third factor mentioned in the sources.
Okay.
Plant Growth Regulators.
Yeah.
PGRs.
PGRs, the real chemical intervention. But hang on, this seems confusing. You said PGRs chemically suppress vertical growth, right?
They do.
So if the goal is these towering Torenia displays, why on earth would they use a chemical that stops plants from getting tall? It feels like a contradiction.
It does, and this is where we see this commercial duality really clearly. The nursery industry is basically running 2 different programs at the same time.
2 tracks.
Exactly. Track 1 is the display plant, the giant showcase specimen. For that, they use etiolation and massive nitrogen doses to create that wow factor plant that draws you in.
Okay, the big attention grabber.
Track 2 is the retail plant, the smaller, perfectly formed mounding plant that you actually put in your shopping cart.
Okay, so the PGRs are used on the plants intended for sale. The ones that need to fit nicely in a 6-pack or a small pot.
Precisely. The PGRs work by chemically inhibiting the plant's ability to make gibberellin,
which is the hormone for
cell elongation.
A stem stretch.
So PGRs keep those retail plants uniform, compact, looking perfect for shipping and sitting on the shelf.
Right. Because if they didn't use PGRs on those, given all the nitrogen they've probably had.
They'd grow leggy and unsellable almost overnight.
So they're growing two completely different end products using almost opposite strategies. The tall display plants get nitrogen and low light stretching,
Mm-hmm.
and the short, compact retail plants get chemical breaks applied, often after getting well fed
Got
initially.
it. That really explains why our listener was so mixed up. They were trying to get the results of the tall display plant, but maybe applying logic or techniques like pinching that are more relevant to maintaining the short retail plant.
Yeah, they were trying to reverse engineer the wrong product, essentially.
Essentially. And our listener, quite wisely in their notes, picked up on this. They mentioned that while the PGR science is interesting for their goal getting a tall plant, the immediate practical focus has to be on mimicking that high nitrogen strategy.
Right, because they want the display plant look, and that's about managing light and especially nutrition, not adding synthetic growth suppressors.
Exactly. That's not the tool for their job.
Okay, so it really sounds like the immediate path to success, the shortcut to getting that impressive nursery height at home is just be bold with the nitrogen.
Be bold, be frequent.
Frequent high-end feeding. Maybe combine it with slightly reduced controlled light early on to encourage that initial stretch. It's not about some magic seed. It's about creating this environment that screams, grow taller, now.
That is the absolute core lesson here. The huge difference between a, perfectly nice but short, early blooming annual in your backyard and that towering specimen at the nursery. It's rarely genetics.
It's the inputs. It's the deep understanding and, frankly, manipulation of the environmental inputs. Light density, resource levels, those chemical signals telling a plant. Build structure or make babies. This knowledge completely changes how you look at annuals, doesn't it? It forces you to think a bit like a commercial grower.
It really does. And it gives you immediate, practical steps you can try that directly address that problem of premature blooming. If you want a tall Torenia, you have to keep that high nitrogen signal going strong until the plant reaches the size you want.
You're forcing it to stay focused on rapid vertical growth above all else.
You're overriding its natural tendency to switch gears.
It's just fascinating how this seemingly simple goal, I want a taller, lusher flower, made us unpack this whole layered strategy.
Yeah.
You've got the physics of etiolation, the chemistry of aggressive nitrogen feeding, and then this specialized science of growth regulators. The source material had that great line, something like, you learn by being immersed in the details.
It's a powerful illustration of resource allocation in plants, really.
Absolutely. And this whole conversation makes you look at every amazing plant in a nursery differently now. Not just as, oh, that's pretty, but as the result of really careful, sometimes contradictory engineering designed purely to hit a peak visual moment for sale.
Yeah. So, okay, here's a final thought, something for you to mull over based on all this. What other common nursery stunners, those impossibly dense petunias or, perfectly round basil plants, maybe those unusually huge potted chrysanthemums in the fall, and,
Might also be the result of similar kind of hidden growth manipulations. Before reaching for some special chemical, maybe start by thinking about the light and definitely calculating that nitrogen input much more aggressively. Go look at plant growth with this more critical, informed eye.
It definitely makes every trip to the garden center a lesson in plant manipulation from now on.
It certainly does. Well, thank you for diving deep into the Torenia mystery with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.